Hi friends, I'm Gio. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to the city of 1,000 hills, Kigali, capital of Rwanda. This is Backpack Boy, Part 5. Trust. Let's dive right in. May 7th. I woke up stiff. My neck ached. I didn't want to wake up. Where I lay was comfortable, warm, safe. A feeling I'd seldom known in my 20 years. I turn 21 next month, June 24th. The air smelled of lemon cleaner, rain, and bitter coffee. The hum of the rain hadn't woken me. A TV had, the iconic music of Grey's Anatomy, but it had been voiced over by actors speaking Kinyarwanda. There was another scent in the room, sosoma, a Rwandan porridge made from corn, soybeans, and sorghum. I had to look sorghum up on my phone. It's a grain like quinoa, but takes longer to cook. Sorghum is African, quinoa is South American. I remembered where I was. I'm Yuli Henderson Morton, and I'm lying next to my friend, Phillip Kessel. We're at the University Teaching Hospital of Kigali, where Phillip is recovering from malaria. He collapsed into unconsciousness last night, and, afraid he was dying, I lay with him, beside him, praying I could keep him here, with me. Because I love him, but I've never told him. The smell of fresh chapatis came from a basket of food brought to the man with the TV. A woman sat next to him, chatting in Kinyarwanda, the main language of Rwanda. I cuddled into Phillip. It was a narrow bed, and he had wrapped an arm around me. His breathing seemed easier this morning. Wishful thinking? He didn't seem as warm today. Maybe the fever had come down. It was cloudy outside, the heavy rain drumming metallic against a nearby roof. May is part of the rainy season in Rwanda. A chill breeze floated through the window, fluttering the curtains around the frame and the pale blue privacy curtains around us. Privacy curtains that doubled as mosquito nets shielded us from the world. The stillness gave me a moment to reflect. I'd arrived here 2 days ago with my brother Cliff. Technically, he's my adopted brother. I was adopted into their family 4 years ago. Phillip was Cliff's roommate at the University of Michigan. We live in Denver. Cliff's wife is 5 months pregnant and staying with Mom and Dad back in Denver. Dad is handling the financial end, while Mom and Charlene are getting the house ready for Phillip to recuperate in. My best friend, Zickers, is our informal travel agent, internet guru, and my unpaid therapist when Dad isn't around. I don't know where Cliff is or what he's been doing all day. We're supposed to be tending Phillip together, but Cliff has only been here once. Can it really be that complicated working with the embassy liaison? Dad was coordinating it back in Denver. What's different in Rwandan hospitals from American hospitals is that in Rwanda, families are expected to step up, providing food, bathing, companionship, hygiene, any amenities, like a TV. The problem? I'm gay. Helping Phillip with all the basics could be seen as awkward or invasive. Yet what else can I do? I have to step up and help him. Most of my life I've been bounced around from family to family. Because of that, I deal with abandonment trauma and complex PTSD. Last night, it nearly swallowed me. That's why I lay down beside Phillip, both to keep him from dying and to keep myself from freaking out. I love Phillip. I have ever since we met, but he's 4 years older than me, and Cliff's best friend and former roommate. Letting him know how I feel would make the situation very cringeworthy. His breathing was still heavy, an odd rumble in his chest, but his face was calm. Dark rings surrounded his eyes like he'd taken a baseball to the face. The bones in his face stood out, and his collarbones could double as golf clubs. 1 week of not being able to eat had taken its toll. The echo of the man I knew was still there, just hidden under the devastating effects of malaria. He stirred. His arm under my head moved slightly. His eyes opened, though they didn't focus on anything. I held my breath, waiting for him to speak. It doesn't have to be profound, or loving, or romantic. Merely proof that he lived. In a groan that sounded like a shoe scraping across the floor, he mumbled, "I need to use the toilet." Something inside me eased. Phillip was alive. My worry last night had been for nothing. A nurse's cart rattled past our room. A man with a deep voice spoke in Kinyarwanda to someone. It sounded like Mama Nina, the day nurse, who replied in Kinyarwanda as well. I wiggled out of bed before Phillip had a chance to realize I'd slept beside him, stretching my legs as I stood. Then I took his arm, gripped his waist, and helped him stand. Heading to the bathroom was like a 3-legged race, not fast, not graceful, and we almost fell 3 times. I turned away to give him privacy, but I'm afraid to leave Phillip alone. He's only a shadow of what he once was. I pray he will be again. But he's alive. Once Phillip was back in bed, the blanket tucked around his unconscious form, I grabbed the container and headed to the kitchens down the hall. Other families were there making the morning meals for their loved ones. Beatha, the night nurse, stepped beside me, her eyes fighting the exhaustion, but her smile warm. "Are you ready to learn, Uile?" I don't understand why, but everyone here called me Uile. She selected a pot, half filled it with water, and placed it on a burner. Once it boiled, she added the sosoma mixture I'd bought from the market. Stifling a yawn, she added a pinch of salt. "Add barely any. Too much and only pigs will eat it. A slim sprinkle of honey for sweetness. But too much attracts dogs, and honey is bad for dogs." How do I know if Phillip's getting better? She gave me the look nurses have, the kind that's half smile, half warning, the stern look wrapped in kindness, and offered a sentence in Kinyarwanda. "I don't understand," I said. "Even the stillest water may hide a crocodile, but it's where the lotus learns to bloom." "What do you mean?" She paused, watching the steam rise. After handing me a wooden spoon, she made a stirring motion with her finger. I stirred the porridge, inhaling the scent. "I mean you fear too much," she said, fixing me with her gentle gaze. "There is an old story passed down from generation to generation. A child once asked Mama Crocodile, 'Is the pond still because you hunt, or still so it can grow flowers?' Do you know what the crocodile said?" "No, what?" "If you answer my riddle correctly, then I won't eat you. Place a finger in the pond." Which finger do you think the child used? Not sure where this was going, I held up my little finger. The little one, smaller target. And if the crocodile bites it off, well, you don't use it very much. Beatha smiled. "You are correct, but you lack understanding. The child chose the same finger as you, and asked, 'Why?' Mama Crocodile said, 'It doesn't matter which finger you use. They make ripples. Each thing makes different ripples. A crocodile swimming with only its eyes showing make a different kind of ripples than a fisherman make, and those are completely different than a frog jumping from lily pad to lily pad." "Makes sense," I murmured. Beatha took the wooden spoon from me, held it up, and pointed it at me. Mama Crocodile asked her riddle, "What are ripples?" I shrugged. "Moving water?" "Mama Crocodile will eat your finger because you answered incorrectly. It is your choice which finger you use to make ripples. Maybe it isn't your finger but your toe. What are ripples?" "They don't mean anything. They're too small." "That is where you are wrong, my American friend," Beatha said. "Gandhi made ripples, and they toppled empires. What are ripples? Choices, consequences, I said. Dr. Eugene Mutimura made ripples, and it changed the world. I've never heard of him. That surprises me, she said. I suspected all who do you say in America, live under the rainbow would have heard of him. He is Rwanda and developed treatment for those suffering with HIV. She nodded, holding my gaze. I know why Phillip is here, and I do not judge. I pray he may return soon to those who love him. Using the wooden spoon, she stirred the porridge, going deep into the pot to scrape the corners, then tasted it before adding another pinch of salt. Are you saying my fear is a ripple? I asked. You choose the finger, and thus you choose the kind of ripples you create. What creates the strongest ripples? I asked. Impatience, she chuckled. Even the crocodile waits in silence before it strikes. Even the flower must wait before it blooms. Even a boy from America must wait until the sosoma is soft and tender. A minute later, Beata removed the porridge from the burner. So be careful with your thoughts, mon ami. The angry ones, like the crocodile, are the deepest. The quiet ones, like the flower, need time to grow. I'm not sure I understand, I said. Ripples always return, though with far less strength, Beata said. When they do, they come to remind. It is a wise man who chooses which finger will make ripples, because the ripples he makes will come back to him. I nodded. Beata grabbed my hand, my little finger, lifting it between us. Our little American nurse doesn't eat ripples made by the little finger. Uile must be strong for his Phillip. Should I use my elbow? I joked. Ha! Beata laughed. Use that pretty head of yours instead. Enough said. The sosoma is done. Go. Time for me to go home and take care of my family. You take care of yours. As I returned back to Phillip, I looked at my hands, wondering how a simple dish of porridge changed everything. Cliff sat by Phillip's bed, though Phillip slept. Cliff wore new Levi's and a crisp Banana Republic gray button-down short-sleeved shirt, with the collar up and top 2 buttons undone. He took a selfie of him and Phillip, the classic frat boy smirk prominent. My brother, the frat boy, was back. Where were you? He asked, quickly sending the selfie into the internet before looking up. Beata was teaching me to make sosoma. It's porridge for Phillip. He awake? Damba's family had returned, and this time the wife was feeding him. His daughter was packing up the dirty clothes. We nodded. Cliff leaned back. Talk about anything interesting? What kind of ripples crocodiles make? I said, setting the porridge on a small table beside Phillip's bed. Somebody is going native, Cliff snorted. As a foster kid, you learn to stay in the background, never taking offense at the stupid things people say, even if they are your adopted frat boy brother. I kept my mouth tightly shut and tested the temperature of the porridge with a finger. Warm, but not hot. Can you leave a ripple in porridge? I licked my finger. Not bad. Personally, I'd add maple syrup and cinnamon and some raisins. Maybe some little marshmallows. Cliff grinned like he'd won a prize. You going to ask what I've been doing? I found a clean bowl and ladled some of the porridge into the bowl. I looked about for some dried mango slices, found the packet I'd bought from the market, and added 2. I doubt Phillip could eat this much, but I would try. Without looking at Cliff, I gently shook Phillip awake. I assumed you were doing embassy stuff or arranging finances. Do you know where Phillip's passport is? No. Dad's taking care of all that stuff, so I went shopping. They've got this European boutique in Kigali City Mall with American clothes. I think I'm the only person in Rwanda wearing a pair of Levi's. Look at my Nikes, sparkling white, and they have that brand new smell. Damba's daughter snickered and glanced our way. I looked at my legs. Khaki long pants. I had packed a pair of Levi's, but they were too hot in Rwanda's humidity, and I'm glad I'm wearing these because mosquitoes are a force of nature, especially now during the rainy season. Did you get anything for Phillip? I asked. No. Was I supposed to? Except for the clothes he wore when they transported him, what else he had is back in Uganda. I pulled a very weak Phillip to a sitting position, his legs dangling off the side of the bed. He felt warmer than he had earlier. One glance at the monitor confirmed it. 38.9 centigrade, 102 Fahrenheit, a degree higher than last night. It had gone up. Ripples echoed in my mind. I handed the bowl of sosoma and a spoon to Cliff. Feed Phillip. I need to call Dad. Once you're done, you can help me get him to the shower. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and dialed home. Cliff took the bowl. Shower? Not exactly, I said, dialing. It's like a bathtub with a sprayer, no curtain. I've figured if one of us holds Phillip up, we can bathe him, or at least rinse him off. I bet he hasn't been clean for ages. No pictures, Phillip croaked, attempting a smile. No promises, bro. Cliff held up his phone and snapped another selfie of him and Phillip. Mom answered the phone. I put it on speaker. Yuli, we've been waiting. How's Phillip? Hi, Phillip said. Peachy. As if the peach fell off a truck and got run over. Dad chuckled. Good to hear you found a sense of humor. Zickers has worked like a demon with the airlines, and when you're ready, we'll get you home. Tell him thanks, Phillip croaked, speaking slowly. His voice rasped. Laryngitis tangled with a frog in his throat. I had to grin as I handed Phillip a cup of water. Mom and Dad kept their voices low this time, just loud enough for us to hear, quiet enough to avoid side eyes from Damba's family. Reason I called. Do you know anything about Phillip's passport? I asked. Not to worry, Dad said, and I imagined him folding his arms. Embassy's holding it for now, as well as the emergency transfer paperwork. In a few days, when you're better, Phillip, one of the aides will come see you. Mom broke in. Yuli, are you eating all right? For so long, I never had a foster mom who cared if I ate or not. Now I did, and it still brought tears. I can barely pronounce some of it, Mom, and it's spicier than that Thai restaurant on Culver. I'll bring back some new recipes we can try. I frowned. Cliff still hadn't sat next to Phillip, still hadn't fed him, still held the bowl of sosoma. Phillip had zoned out, meaning he was about to pass out. First, he needed food. I took the bowl of porridge, sat down beside Phillip, and handed him one of the mango slices to suck on. Open your mouth. Here comes the airplane. Zzz, in it goes. And I shoved the spoon in his mouth. Cliff rolled his eyes. The people here are really friendly, I continued. I've learned how to make sosoma, and we have to figure out how to make ihene. It's really good. Only if you like goat, Cliff retorted. Sometimes I still had the feeling that Cliff resented me. I am the new addition to the family. I did inherit his old room. Once I caught Mom on the phone with Cliff, telling him that she wished he treated money more like I did, rather than as gifts people owed him. His comment? This stingy little bastard doesn't spend anything, and he looks like it. Cliff, are you there? Dad asked. Cliff noticed a spot of porridge on his thumb. Rather than lick it off, he looked at it like it was a bug, and wiped his hand on one of the clean towels Beatha had brought. I'm here, Dad, Cliff said. I thought I did a good job with this porridge. It wasn't burned. Had a little bit of honey. Beata liked it. So did I. Phillip hadn't complained. I took a deep breath. Released it. Sometimes I didn't understand my brother. I fed a half-spoonful of sosoma to Phillip. He ate it without complaint. Only had that glazed look in his eyes. That meant he'd been conscious too long. Mom called in the background. "Chantel, come here quick. Cliff and Yuli are on the line. They're with Phillip." "I'm coming." "Ask them about the bank notifications," Chantel said, her voice faint with distance and grumpy. "Hey, sis-in-law," I said. "Got a baby name yet?" "It's only been 2 days," Chantel said. "Something wrong with your phone, Cliff?" Dad said. "We can't get a hold of you. Your mom's frantic with worry. Chantel thinks your accounts have been hacked. She received several text alerts about possible fraudulent account activity originating in Africa. When the banks open, she wants to report them as fraud." Did I feel dumb? "Oops, sorry guys, it's 10 in the morning here. What time is it there?" I cringed, afraid of the answer. 2 in the morning, Mom said. "Don't worry about it, sweetie. We couldn't sleep anyway." Damba's wife bumped Damba's bandaged arm on accident. Damba winced and swore in Kinyarwanda. I fed another half-spoonful to Phillip. Nothing moved faster than a bank protecting its money, even if it was just numbers on a screen. Cliff folded his arms, standing on one hip, and sighed. "Look, guys, I turned my phone off. It's not a big deal. Besides, I don't have a way to charge it because my charger's in my suitcase. And they have different power here, and I don't need all the roaming fees. You know how expensive that can get? And it's international rates too. And the money I used from our account? Just chill. My suitcase is probably in Amsterdam, so I bought clothes." "You spent $1,057 on clothes?" Chantel said, but was shushed by Mom. "We need that money for medical bills." "Relax, babe," Cliff said. "We can handle it. American clothes are expensive here." "Do you know how expensive a baby is? When was the last time you looked at copays and add a flight to Rwanda and the hotel stay and food and now clothes?" Chantel began crying. "Now they want me to take special vitamins and those cost a fortune, and you're spending our money on clothes, and we're trying to help Phillip, and it's all a mess." Cliff shouted, "It's not my fault they lost my suitcase. You think everybody can travel like Yuli, living out of a lame backpack all his life? Some of us have style, have a life, want more than just a stupid bed." Chantel took a breath. "Do you even care about the baby? About me?" "The way you've been lately, I can't predict what mood you'll be in. It changes depending on what's on your phone. And don't complain about my clothes when all you crave is licorice, sour whole pickles, and hard-boiled eggs. God help me if I cook them a minute too long because you'll make me do it again." One glance at Phillip was all it took to awaken my inner mama bear. The guy barely had enough strength to sit up, was holding it together with the mental equivalent of duct tape. This wasn't the place for Cliff's tantrum, or the time. 8,300 miles from home, from my family, among people I could barely communicate with. The anger flared. No one would stand up for Phillip, except me. My hand tightened into a fist, before Chantel shot loose with another salvo. Rwandan spice clicked in my soul. Blame the ehene. Blame the fear. Blame me for loving a man who almost died. Heart thumping, sweat beating under my armpits, I picked up the phone and clicked it off speaker. I spoke, but remembered how the Rwandan spoke and echoed it. "Grow up, Cliff. This is a hospital. People are sick, and some are near death. Stop acting like an entitled jerk. Stop thinking about yourself and turn your goddamn phone back on. Then explain your actions to your wife, Mom, and Dad. Do it away from the sick, preferably quietly, so the Rwandans don't think you're obnoxious. Too late, they already do. Phillip, Damba, and the other guys in the room would appreciate it. Me too. Phillip stared at me. I couldn't figure out what his expression meant. Mama Nina, who had just entered the room, nodded, a faint smile on her lips. Cliff was about to yell when he noticed Damba and his family a dozen feet from us, staring at him like he was the latest American soap opera. Damba's daughter giggled. Before I hang up, tell everybody you're sorry for making a spectacle of yourself, I ordered, staring hard at Cliff. Phillip took the spoon from my hand and fed himself. Through the phone, Chantel must have thought I meant her because she mumbled, "Sorry, Yuli. Sorry, Phillip." Cliff pursed his lips, eyebrows lowering into a frown, and didn't say anything. Dad snorted. Somebody has become the adult in the room. You heard Yuli. Cliff, turn your phone back on and walk outside. Let's talk about this in private. Yes, sir. The glare Cliff gave me would have curdled motor oil. I glared back. Cliff backed down. Cliff left. After I ended the call with Mom and Dad, I realized I never asked them about what the senator wanted, or what Phillip's mom wanted. Phillip, my friend, no offense, but you need a shower, I said, calling Cliff. He hadn't come back. Phillip sniffed at his shirt and made a face. No argument there. What'll I wear? Not those clothes, I replied. Cliff finally answered his phone. Chantel's pissed, Cliff said. Dad's furious. Mom's disappointed. Yuli, I blame you because you're too responsible. You've never had any problems. I bet you think you're the perfect replacement son. I remained silent and let the ripples do the talking. You wouldn't understand anyway, Cliff whined. I need more clothes. I'm heading out for some shoes, maybe some sandals. 2 more shorts would be nice. No, you're not, I said, unable to stop the pent-up emotion. You're getting back here right now and helping me get Phillip to the shower. I've bought some chicken broth and we need to feed him. Malaria has left him weak and uncoordinated. There came a long pause. I knew it wasn't because of long distance, because Cliff wasn't that far from me. I'll do it later, Cliff said. My impatience flared. What is your problem? Phillip needs us. In Rwanda, it's the family who takes care of things. We're Phillip's family. I almost yelled, but remembered to keep my voice calm at the last second. This is why we've traveled across the world, so get your behind in gear and help me. Dude, Cliff said, his tone taking on a little of that frat boy swagger. Awkward. Giving Phillip a bath? Making food? Feeding him? Taking him to the bathroom? I'm not built for this. Malaria has sucked the life right out of him, I said. What were you expecting? Sit around all day and watch Phillip sleep? He needs exercise too. Look, Cliff said, I can't do this nursing home crap. So you're going to waste your time and money on clothes? Talk about pathetic. Some friend you turned out to be. I hung up before I blew up. A quiet second to calm my heart, and I turned to Phillip. He must have heard everything. His eyes focused on me, showing life for the first time since I'd come to Kigali. We doing this shower thing? Somehow, I replied, forcing a little enthusiasm into my voice. It'll be fun, and we'll wash your clothes at the same time. Phillip gripped my arm, a pained look in his eyes. I'm glad you're here. I woke last night and you were there. My angel, it was like a dream. It's been so hard lately. Our eyes connected, a sharing of souls, a trust that I had rarely experienced. You couldn't keep me away, I whispered, pulling him close in a hug. We survived the shower, and once Phillip, now smelling of soap and Axe Phoenix deodorant, was dressed in a clean t-shirt and drawstring pants, Mama Nina made him take his medicine and he lay down. Phillip murmured one thing before he passed out. "Don't leave me." He slept for 5 hours, and then it was another stumble to the bathroom. I spoke with my parents at sunset. About noon their time, I learned that my old room was being converted to Philip's room. It was closer to the bathroom, and that the guest room would be my new room. It was smaller, colder because it was on the north side of the house, and barely had a closet. Dad said that finances were covered, but tuition would be tight next semester. I told him I was planning on skipping it because Phillip came first. Zickers had set up a passcode with the airlines. You have to know Zickers. If there was a security option, he always took it. The passcode was Phillip 1234. "It's so easy to remember that even a Tribble would get it right," he said, pride filling his voice. "What's a Tribble?" I asked. "You, my bestest best friend in all the multiverse, are lacking in education," Zickers said. "A Tribble is a Star Trek fluff ball that gets fat from eating wheat, and when it gets fat, it has baby Tribbles." "So it's a fuzzy Pac-Man?" A pause. I'm sure Zickers was either rolling his eyes or about to hurl his phone at the wall. "Yintach!" Zickers swore. "You didn't just swear at me in Klingon, did you?" "You owe me," he sang. "Break's over. Catch you next bat time." You had to know Zickers. I inwardly laughed. At least he kept me sane. I took a moto to a nearby market. The Kigali city market is like nothing in America. Stall after stall of fruits and vegetables, of every type I've ever heard of, plus hundreds I didn't know existed. Stalls of fresh meat stood shoulder to shoulder with vendors hawking comic books, perfumes, and silks so rich they shimmered like spilled moonlight. Even here, the noise was muted. People haggled, but not loudly. Men and women spoke on cell phones, but kept their voices low. The air smelled of grilled meats and spices I couldn't name. I've never smelled cinnamon so fresh or coffee so intense. Could I get away with bringing a few vanilla beans home to Mom? It was perfume bliss standing around them. Imagine what my backpack would smell like. Zickers can keep his Tribbles. I'll take vanilla beans and moonlight silk. I stood taller than most people, and about the same age as Half. Everybody suspected I was American, but I was too quiet, didn't push my way through the crowd. When I spoke French, the old woman nodded appreciatively. They thought me European, from northern France or Belgium. I went along with it. I picked up some clothes for Phillip, more sosoma, some dried mango slices, some fresh fruit that looked like red tomatoes but grew on trees, tamarillos. They tasted tangy, slightly sweet, like some exotic fruit you don't get in the States. Of course I couldn't leave without a couple of grilled ahene, still warm from the coals, and chapatis soft enough to fold around memory. When Phillip woke next, I fed him a little sosoma, a soft chapati, and a dried mango slice. The ahene was good, and I ate every bite. We spent the next hour talking. He told me about Uganda and the people he helped there. I told him about my classes. The guy next to Damba angled his TV just enough so we could watch an episode of Faulty Towers dubbed into Kinyarwanda. It didn't make sense, but we enjoyed it anyway. Basil Fawlty's flailing arms and panicked shouting needed no translation. As I was preparing the sleeping mat beside his bed, Phillip rolled over and shyly mumbled, "You can share the bed with me, like last night. It was nice not being alone." He looked away, like he'd asked for an impossible favor. I leaned in close, whispered in his ear. "No funny business," I said. "We're not married yet." Phillip rolled his eyes. "I should bury you in Grant's tomb." "Promises, promises," I said. That brought an exhausted smile that broke my heart. Would he ever be whole again? I kept my fears to myself and said, "Tomorrow I'm going to find a wheelchair and get you outside." I adjusted the privacy curtain, the mosquito netting that wrapped around our space, and lay down beside him. Phillip rested his head on my shoulder, mumbling, "Angel," as he fell asleep. He didn't move all night, and the stiff arm I woke up with was worth it. May 14th, a week later. Our days had developed a rhythm. Wake, take care of Phillip, make sosoma, feed Phillip, help him walk, wheel him around the hospital, Phillip's afternoon nap. Cliff would usually stop by for a couple of hours and take a few selfies with Phillip. He even had that old frat boy smirk like he was about to score and couldn't wait to brag. Sent those pictures somewhere. I assumed to Chantel or Dad to prove he wasn't shopping and that he could be responsible. Fuzzy Pac-Man made more sense. At least the Zicker's chaos had rules. Cliff's didn't. I understood Zicker's better than I understood my own brother. At least Cliff was helping now, except with showers. When he took over watching Phillip, I went to the market. When I stayed with Phillip, Cliff went shopping and stayed in the hotel. I called Mom and Dad every day around 4 or 5. We'd been here a week. Phillip had grown stronger, and his fever had leveled off at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Cliff had left a couple of hours ago for the hotel. Phillip had just eaten, and I'd put him to bed, so I made the usual late afternoon call home. When I asked Dad, "What did you think of the latest pictures Cliff sent?" "What pictures?" Dad said. "He sends them every day," I said. "I haven't gotten any," Chantel said. "Can you pass the jam?" Teresa, my little sister, broke in. "Dad, can you give me a ride to school?" Phillip, now a little stronger, added, "Same thing happened to me in Uganda. Texts and calls made it through. Pictures did not. Something about the bandwidth, I guess." "But Rwanda is supposed to have one of the best networks in Africa," I replied. "Besides, I've sent pictures. You mean none of them got through? Not even the one with the grilled henne?" "We got the ones you sent," Mom said. "Those markets are amazing. So many fruits and vegetables. It's like a giant farmer's market and a state fair rolled together. Maybe it's only at certain times of the day you can send pictures?" "Maybe," Phillip replied. "Time to test your phone, genius. Send us something," Teresa said. "Dad, I'm going to be late. Come on." "Send it to me, Yuli," Chantel said. "Tell Phillip we love him, and we love you too, Yuli. We're proud of you," Mom yelled. I imagined her over at the stove, frying bacon and eggs or something. The heat rose to my cheeks. Since my parents had died, I hadn't experienced love. 10 foster families treated me like their pet foster kid. Some only in it for the money, which wasn't very much. The 11th family, the Mortons, became my home. "I love you too, Mom." Did they know how much they meant to me? I hope so. Mama Nina entered carrying a tray of coffee and medication for everyone, the hot brew smelling of cardamom. I waved her over. She set the tray down and leaned in for the selfie with Phillip and me. We posed. She laughed and took pills over to Damba first. I sent it, waited 5 minutes, and called Chantel. "Did you get it?" "Yes, just like the others you sent." "Maybe it's Cliff's data plan? He needs to upgrade it?" I said. "I added international roaming when I found out Cliff used that as an excuse not to call," Chantel said. "It should work. He's got a newer phone. I'll have to talk to you later. Doctor's appointment." I was neatening up the room, taking inventory of what I'd need from the market. More sosoma, More hene, of course, and more cash. Few people in the market accepted plastic. A branch of the Bank of Kigali was not far from here. I could withdraw some money and have it converted to Rwandan francs. Except my debit card wasn't in my wallet? The world stopped. I froze. I must have gotten distracted, put it someplace weird. Strange. I always carried my wallet in my front pocket to make it difficult for pickpockets. Except for my keys, nothing was in my pockets. I checked the passport straps on my right calf. Passport? ID? No debit card. I checked my shoes. Right shoe had emergency cash. Left shoe had emergency contact numbers. My security belt. More emergency cash. No debit card. I emptied my backpack, dumping it onto the bed. No debit card. I repacked my pack, replaying the last few days in my head. Maybe I had shoved it deeper in my wallet? I double-checked my wallet. I triple-checked. Driver's license, student ID, discount card at the Gas and Go a block from our house. About 50,000 Rwandan francs. No debit card. Why would a thief take the card and leave the cash? When had I last used it? Day before yesterday at the Bank of Kigali to get cash. Yesterday. One of the vendors at the marketplace accepted debit cards. I used it to buy 2 fuzzy triple things, a pink one for Teresa and a green one for Zickers. A sour taste filled my mouth. Had I lost it at the market? I distinctly remember putting the card in my wallet and putting it into my front pocket. Just before bed, I counted my money. The card had been there last night. You okay? Phillip asked. My card's gone, I said, looking at him. Check the bathroom, Phillip replied, shaking out his blankets and looking around his bed. I checked. Nothing. I couldn't think straight. What do I do? I said. Call your dad, Phillip replied. I did. He had just arrived at work. He had barely said hello when I blurted out, Dad, my card's gone. Calm down. Walk me through how to get into your account. Before I could do so, a bank notification appeared on my phone. Dad? It says unauthorized activity suspected. It says a $2,000 purchase was attempted. Is somebody using my card? I told Dad how to access my account, and he did so from his work computer. Found it. Suspicious charge from Rwanda. Looks like it happened a little over an hour ago. I think it's for plane tickets? Can we block it? I asked. There was a long pause as if Dad were reading. His phone beeped. Let me put you on hold. The call went silent. Phillip sat up in his bed, face almost a normal shade. Anything? I shook my head. I've been so careful. Why didn't they take the money? How did they get my PIN? Phillip inhaled and met my gaze. Maybe they ran it as credit, not debit? That way they wouldn't need your PIN? I shrugged, the flicker of panic slashing through my stomach. Damba's daughter called from the other side of the room. Smart thief. You notice missing money right away, but a card? You don't use it every day. But it was in my pocket, I said. Some thieves are very quick, Uile. Usually they throw the wallet away, or bury it like trash. Maybe this one feel guilty. Throw the wallet away, echoed in my brain. Bury it like trash. The darkness descended. My mind shut down. Thrown away. Buried like trash. Thrown away. The spiral began. Part of me knew it was a stress-induced complex PTSD episode. That part retreated into my backbone, away from conscious thought. I had no money. I was expected to take on everything alone. Cliff had abandoned me and Phillip. Thrown away. Thrown away. Buried like trash. I'd been accused of stealing. I was 12 again. The living room of the Talbots. A young family with a baby. Dad collected rare silver coins. "What have you done with it?" Mrs. Talbot yelled, her baby cradled in her arms. The baby had burped, a smell of pureed carrots and applesauce and powdered formula. A boy, I don't remember the name, wrapped in a Powerpuff Girl blanket, cooing, innocent. Slap. Mr. Talbot struck me, across the left cheek, hard. My neck ached. Tears began to fall. "Did you sell it for drug money?" His cologne, the cheap stuff young guys wear to the office to smell impressive. Paralyzed, afraid, about to pee my pants, I could only stare. My legs shook. "Answer me." Mr. Talbot raised his hand again. The washing machine whirred in the background. Mrs. Talbot always seemed to be washing something. A little voice leaked out of me. "I don't know." The baby gurgled, needed to change position. Mrs. Talbot bounced a little to distract the baby. She glared at me, ironic. She cradled innocence at the same time she judged me. "What did you do with my husband's coin?" Mrs. Talbot yelled. "I don't know," I said. I cowered, falling into a ball on the floor, shielding my head so he wouldn't hit me again. A little while later, the CPS van pulled up. The lady escorted me and my backpack inside the cold van. They were always cold. She gave me a coloring book kind of smile, and a little too cheerfully said, "Don't worry, Yuli. They weren't the right fit. I bet you'll have better luck with the next family. What flavor of lollipop would you like?" I stared out the window and mindlessly said, "Yellow." Another family had thrown me away. Buried like trash. Thrown away. Buried like trash. I was 12 again, the living room of the Talbots, and it replayed. "Yuli," a voice whispered. I was 12 again, the living room of the Talbots, and it replayed. "Yui lay," a soft female voice said. "Eat." Something was shoved into my mouth. "What do you taste?" A masculine voice. "Mango," I whispered. "What do you smell?" "Two things." Phillip's voice. I took a whiff. Cardamom coffee. Some kind of antiseptic. Reality. I took hold of the present with both hands, the familiar humiliation settling in. The episode faded. Where was I? I opened my eyes. The white walls of the hospital suffocated me. The pale blue curtains separating each bed loomed over me. Philip's rumpled bed rested under me. Phillip sat next to me, his arm about my shoulders, my backpack in my lap. Mama Nina held a cup of cardamom coffee near me, its aroma anchoring me. Damba's daughter sat on my other side, her eyebrows raised, eyes filled with concern. Damba stared at me, eyes narrowed. The man with the TV looked my way, then looked back at his TV. "It happened again?" I whispered. Phillip nodded. "I explained that you have these episodes because of your childhood, and this one was triggered because your card was stolen." Damba said something in Kinyarwanda. His daughter replied back. Damba pulled out his phone and carefully pushed the numbers with his bandaged hands. "Many people have episodes," Damba's daughter whispered. "My grandfather lived during the great tragedy 30 years ago. We had to guide his mind back to the now several times." Dad interrupted. I'd forgotten about the phone. "Yuli, not to worry. I've frozen the card and reported it as stolen and the transaction as fraudulent. You only had $500 in your account, so whatever idiot tried to steal your money wouldn't have gotten very much." Damba's daughter squeezed my hand. "That is a fortune, enough to live 2 or 3 months here. I don't know many who would steal. It brings dishonor, not just to the thief, but to their ancestors." Mama Nina nodded. "In our tradition, shame is not carried alone. It stains the family name, even after death." "Dad, do you think I could borrow from Cliff?" Dad sighed. Chantel froze his card so he wouldn't wipe out their savings. I forced my shoulders to relax. Airline flights are paid for. We just need to handle motos and food, right? I could imagine Dad with an ironic grin. Yeah, that call from earlier? Somebody tried to change your flights. They didn't have the password Zicker set up, so nothing was altered. Could they have stolen more than your debit card? I opened my backpack, found my journal, and opened it. The folded paper that held our flight information was safe. How would anybody even know about our flights? Nobody answered. The exhaustion from an episode was starting to set in. I slumped against Phillip. You're safe, he whispered. I'm supposed to tell you that, I whispered back. He ruffled my hair, the light shining in his eyes. You're safe. I'll make sure of that. No, you won't. I bit my lip and smiled. I like being the hero. Mama Nina left for a few minutes and then returned, leading a man dressed in a dark blue uniform and beret. His eyes were the eyes of a Rottweiler looking for blood. A Rwandan police officer. In clipped French, he said, You are Uile Henderson Morton, the man whose card is missing? He said it like I was the one at fault. I glanced at Phillip. The man had fallen asleep and probably wouldn't awaken until tomorrow morning. I was on my own. Yes, I am. Come with me. As we walked, Mama Nina walked alongside me. We are in a new facility and have many of the things you see on American TV, like House. We have cameras in all hallways, and it is standard procedure to have them in critical care wards. We must know if there is a problem. Theft is not tolerated in Rwanda, especially in hospital, the police officer said. People are vulnerable, and doctors and nurses undergo a rigorous screening process. I nodded. What does that have to do with me? They led me into a room filled with desks and monitors. It is our mission control, like in your Houston, Mama Nina said. So advanced, we can fly to the moon. I gave her a half grin. You caught our thief? The police officer said something in Kinyarwanda to a woman sitting at the desk. She made some adjustments, and one of the monitors showed our room. The camera must be over the door because it gave a view of all 4 beds. Phillip and I were asleep in his bed, him curled into me like a kid, at peace, looking like he used to, face free of worries, eyes less sunken, trusting me to take care of him. Something warm filled my eyes. It had been a hard week, but maybe I could handle living on my own and taking care of the man I loved. Even I looked relaxed, laying there, holding him close, sleeping together. The other people were sleeping in the room as well. A quiet night, a quiet moment, peace. And then it changed. A man walked in, saw we were asleep, and walked over to us. He noticed something on the floor by Phillip's bed, on the side I was sleeping in. The attendant zoomed in. My wallet? It must have slipped out of my pocket while I slept. I remembered finding it this morning lying next to me in the blankets. It didn't seem important. The man pulled something from my wallet and placed it in his wallet, put my wallet beside my hand. He stole what was important and discarded the rest. My card. Discarded like it wasn't important, like I wasn't important, threw me away. He turned just enough for the light to flash on his face. I gripped the back of the chair. The spiral had started. Breathe, 5 things I see. The officer looking at me. A monitor displaying the front of the building. I couldn't focus, had trouble breathing. The man left the room. never realizing he had been filmed. The cameras followed him as he walked down the hallway, his face obvious under the better lighting. He took the elevator to the first floor, walked into the morning light, and caught a moto. My stomach tightened, my throat clenched. I called Dad before the spiral got worse. Dad picked up on the second ring. I didn't give him a chance to speak. My voice wobbled as the words tumbled out. Cliff stole my card. Dad swore. Thank you, my friends, for joining me for part 5. I'm Gio, your host and narrator. I love you all. Until next time, peace, my friends.